Hey guys, how's it going? Mega Lugia here, bringing you another competitive guide, this time focused around Mega Gallade. If this is one of the first guides that you're viewing on my channel, I'm going through all the ORAS Megas that we have right now, giving them an in-depth competitive guide, going through their competitive sets, their viable sets, and some sets that may not be considered as viable but can still definitely put in the work and catch your opponent off guard. If you like the sound of that and you're hyped, don't forget to drop a like, that'd be dope, and subscribe for more content in the future. It should be said that by no means am I the best battler out there, but I do have experience in what I'm doing, so it's up to you whether you want to take my advice or not. Now with all that out the way, let's hop into the analysis. So starting off with the basics, Mega Gallade is the Psychic and Fighting typing. Offensively combining both your Psychic and Fighting stab, you're super effective against Steel, Dark, Rock, Fighting, Poison, Normal, and Ice. So a lot of good super effective coverage there, which is ideal for a hard hitter like Mega Gallade. Defensively, you are weak against Flying, Fairy, and Ghost. Offensively, you're resisted by Psychic, Bug, Fairy, and Flying. And defensively, you can take hits from Rock and Fighting. Continuing on with the basics, we're going to be taking a look at Mega Gallade stats. As you can see, that one stat that pops out is that crazy high 165 attack, that really good speed tier of 110, allowing you to speed tie with Latios, Mega Diancie, Gengar, stuff like that. A good special defense stat of 115, and a decent 95 defense, which we can definitely take advantage of with the later stats I will be introducing. Mega Gallade is rocking the Inner Focus ability, which isn't the best ability, but again, we will be able to capitalize on that when I go in depth with the movesets later on in the video. So now for a basic overview of Mega Gallade and how you want to run it. So you're usually going to want to run it with max attack, max speed, taking advantage of that 165 attack, which hits really hard in the tier. Of course, you do have 110 base speed, so you can outspeed a majority of threats and speed tie with other base 110s. Whether or not you want to run Jolly or Adamant, that's completely up to you, and the rest of it make up your team, and we will go more in depth to that when we look at the move pools and the EV spreads. You do have a good move pool. Of course, you're going to want to run Close Combat and Psycho Cut, which is your main stab, and you can choose to run moves like Shadow Sneak, Knockoff, Leaf Blade. There's a lot of moves you can run with Mega Gallade. Having said that, it does have the 4 move slot syndrome, so it kind of depends up on the rest of your team and the makeup of which moves you want to run. Maybe you have some holes you want to plug, some weaknesses here and there. So it really depends up on the makeup of the rest of your team. You don't want to look at Mega Gallade in a vacuum. It's also, you're going to want to run it as either a setup sweeper or as a wall breaker. Like I mentioned, it does have that 110 base speed, and it has good special defense with the option to run Swords Dance, so you can set up, and once its checks and counters are out the way, you can set up and just sweep through there. Or if you want to run it as a wall breaker, you don't want to sweep through teams, just break through those walls, you can run it that way as well. Like I said, it does have a very high damage output of 165 base attack, and if you choose to run Swords Dance as well, there is very little stopping this thing from damaging your opponent's team. So this first set is going to be the all-out attacker set. You're going to want to run max attack, max speed, 4 HP with either a Jolly or Adamant Nature. Adamant Nature is going to be getting you that extra damage outputs which you would miss out with Jolly, but Jolly is going to allow you to speed tie with other base 110s like Gengar and Latios. It's really up to you which one you want to choose. Look, you got to look at the rest of your makeup of your team and see how it all fits together. You want that extra damage output or you want that extra speed. Really up to you again in the end. The moves you're going to run are Swords Dance because you want to be able to set up on top of that 165 base attack. Getting to +2 with Swords Dance is just going to wreck through teams. You're going to run Close Combat because it's your main fighting stab. Zen Headbutt or Psycho Cut because that's your psychic stab. Now you can choose to run Zen Headbutt if you want that chance to flinch, but that reduced accuracy, or Psycho Cut, which is reduced power but just have that higher chance to crit. So again, up to you which one you want to run. Your fourth move can be one of these: Ice Punch for dragon types like Garchomp, Dragonite, or Gliscor, which isn't a dragon type, but you know what I mean. 4 times weak to ice. Poison Jab to hit Clefairy and other other fairy types, of course. I'm sorry, fairy types just, you know, they make me forget what I want to say. And Knockoff if you want to hit like Latios or other bulky psychic types like Cresselia and Mew. And Shadow Sneak if you want a bit of priority against other mons like Mew, like Cresselia, like other Gallades or Metachamps. So it's really up to you which one of these 4 moves you want to run. It's really looking against the makeup of your team and where your weaknesses lie. So this next set is kind of a setup sweeper. You'll see what I mean when we get into the moves. So the EV spread is 80 HP, 252 special defense, 176 speed with a Jolly Nature. We'll get more in depth with the EV spread when we look at the damage calc proportion of the video. So You're going to want to run a Jolly Nature because since you're going to be setting up, you want to be able to damage your opponent before you take a hit, since your goal is to stay around as long as possible, so you want to get those hits off first. The first move is Bulk Up. So Bulk Up is going to get you to +1 defense and +1 attack, which is really good for Mega Gallade since it does have really good attack set but is lacking on the defense set, so you can raise those both at the same time. The next move is going to be Drain Punch. Drain Punch over close combat because if you do choose to run close combat, you're going to be lowering your special defense and your defense, so it's kind of counteractive to what we're trying to do here. So Drain Punch allows you to get that hit off, especially if you're at +2 attack, and recover that HP so that longevity is increased. Next move is either going to be Zen Headbutt or Ice Punch. You can choose to run Zen Headbutt because it is your stab and just have that chance of flinch with some good damage, but it does leave you prone to being walled by Mega Sableye, which would be immune to both your Drain Punch and your Zen Headbutt. So you can choose to run Ice Punch, which can of course hit your Sableye and hit your other mons like your Landorus, Gliscor, Dragonite, and Garchomp. Your fourth move is either going to be Substitute or Safeguard. Substitute if you predict a switch on your opponent's part and they're going to switch into something that can take a hit. Now you can get behind a sub, you can get a +1 Bulk Up off, and maybe they won't even be able to break the sub, which is also the point of the set. You get your defense high enough so that your physical mons that try to come in on you and break your sub based off of your weak defenses, you get your defenses up with your Bulk Up and your substitutes are no longer broken. You can also choose to run Safeguard. For example, if you are in against a Sableye and they wanna go for a Will-O-Wisp to cripple your attack, you run Safeguard. You can no longer be burnt, and it's a really good time for Gallade because they're going to be running Dark Pulse, which is neutral against you, not super effective, and you can always Bulk Up and Ice Punch. There's a lot of things you want to run, so Safeguard could be an interesting move there as well. So this final set is going to be my personal favorite, and I like to call it the "You Mad Bro" set. So you're going to want to run Max Attack, Max Speed with 4 in HP, and this time definitely a Jolly Nature. Jolly Nature because you want to be able to outspeed as much of threats as possible. So that first move that you see, Skill Swap, your eyes are not deceiving you, that's Skill Swap for sure. So the reason why Skill Swap works so well with Mega Gallade is because your ability of Inner Focus isn't that useful. It's not going to be detrimental if you swap that out to another mon, especially if you get a really good ability in return, like the ones I'm thinking of. Huge power from Azumarill. Mega Gallade doubling its attack set is just mind-blowingly insane. Adaptability from Mega Beedrill, Pixelate from Gardevoir, so now that its Hyper Voice is not going to do anything to you and it's going to have very little damage output against you. Magic Bounce from Mega Sableye, so now if it tries to burn you, it gets burnt back. It's a really good time. So as you can see, there is a lot of potential for Skill Swap to work. It's going to catch your opponent off guard and you can sweep accordingly from there. Close Combat or Drain Punch, of course, because you're stab, it's up to you which one you want to run, whether you want longevity or a higher damage output but lower defenses. Again, Zen Headbutt or Psycho Cut, you weigh up the pros and cons, see which one you want. Poison Jab to handle fairies better. Thunder Wave or Substitute because now if you, for example, get a really good ability against your opponent's mon and their mon is essentially crippled, they're going to want to switch out to get it back. So you can Thunder Wave or Substitute on the switch and now you're either behind the sub or faster than their mon for sure. Also, if you get Prankster, for example, from your Thundurus, now you have Prankster T-Wave, Prankster Substitute, which is deadly. So it's a really good time for Mega Gallade. This skill swap set can really put in the work, and I love it. So now for the damage calcs that I've been talking about. So if you choose to run the Bulk Up set with the EV spread that I mentioned, if you get to +2 Bulk Up, obviously +2 defense, +2 attack, you can survive a Banded Talonflame's Brave Bird, Avia Azumarill's Play Rough, Mega Alteria's Pixelate boosted return, Mega Pinsir's return, +1 Mega Charizard's Flare Blitz, or Outrage, +1 Mega Aerodactyl's Aerial Ace. So you don't get OHKO by any of these, and if you're at +2 attack, you can OHKO or have a really high chance to OHKO these things back, so it's a good time. Now if you choose to run the Swords Dance set, if you get to +2 Swords Dance with your attack, you have a chance to 2-hit KO or in some cases OHKO them as well. Mega Slowbro, Mega Sableye, Clefable, Hippowdon, Skarmory, Cresselia, and Celebi. Now the reason why I chose these mons is because they are some really fat mons in the tier, especially Mega Slowbro and Mega Sableye, Hippowdon and Skarmory, and the fact that you can 2-hit KO them and even OHKO them in some cases after rocks is really good to show the output power and damage that Mega Gallade has. So this is a really ideal damage calculation to have in mind. So this next set of damage calcs is going to be the skill swap scenario that I mentioned earlier, and these lists of mons are going to be, in my opinion, some of the ones that you can take most advantage of if you take away their ability. So Mega Gardevoir, if you take away its Pixelate ability, its Hyper Voice is going to be doing roughly 35 to 40% damage, so it's going to be in your favor and you can do a lot of damage back to Gardevoir. Azumarill, if it doesn't have the huge power, Player Off cannot OHKO you, and if you have huge power, oh my days, you can OHKO Azumarill back and a lot of things in the tier. It's such fun times to think about if you have a huge power Mega Gallade. Same with Mega Altaria as the Gardevoir situation. If you take away the Pixelate, it cannot OHKO you with return, and you can do a lot of damage back with your Poison Jab. Mega Sableye, if you get rid of its Magic Bounce, Mega Sableye's main niche is having that Magic Bounce, so if you take that away, it cripples it very well. Mega Pinsir taking away that Aerialate, return can no longer OHKO you, and you can do a lot of damage back with Ice Punch. Mega Beedrill taking away that adaptability, cripples Mega Beedrill and just makes Mega Gallade super strong. Oh my god, it's almost as good as the huge power. Volcanion, if you predict it to go for a Steam Eruption on you, now you have the Water Absorb, so now Steam Eruption is not going to do anything to you. It's really nice to see this, especially with Volcanion getting recently introduced. You can take advantage of its Steam Eruption, no longer getting burnt by its Steam Eruption as well. Sylveon, same deal as Gardevoir and Mega Altaria. Hyper Voice is not going to do anything if you get rid of the Pixelate. Magnezone, interesting one to choose. So if Magnezone is running Magnet Pull, you can now trap it with Magnet Pull and you can proceed to OHKO it back with a close combat. Of course, it's not ideal for you to take a Thunderbolt, but it's just a situation to have in mind. Gliscor, you can take away its Poison Heal, and now if it chooses to run Toxic and Toxic you, you're gonna be recovering HP from Toxic, and it's gonna be losing HP. So that's a very interesting to keep in mind. So now for some of the checks and counters to Mega Gallade. Now a lot of these will be Revenge Killers, some of them will be walls, but it should be said that a lot of them can be relatively handled if you get to, for example, running the sets that I mentioned, getting to +2 defense or +2 attack, or some of the moves that you might want to run. You can relatively handle these mons with ease. So Talonflame and Azumarill are going to be obvious Revenge Killers, OHKOing you with a Play Rough or a Brave Bird, especially if you're not at +2 defense. Mega Pidgeot cannot switch into you, but it can come and Revenge Kill you and OHKO you with a Hurricane. Clefable can be a problem, but again, if you are running Swords Dance and you are at +2 with a Poison Jab, Clefable can no longer stop you. Landorus, again, if it's running the defensive Intimidate Rocky Helmet set, it can be a bit annoying to deal with, but if you do boost your attack, it can no longer take an Ice Punch from you. Mega Slowbro being a bit of a problem for Mega Gallade because it is resistant to both forms of your stab, and if you manage to not get burnt on a Scald, if you do get to +2 attack with Swords Dance, you can 2-hit KO with a knockoff. Mega Sableye again being another problem, immune to both forms of your stab, and if you do manage to avoid a Will-O-Wisp, by example running the skill swap set, now you do have Magic Bounce and it can no longer burn you. You can 2-hit KO it with knockoff, or if you're at +2 attack with knockoff or Ice Punch. So that is something to keep in mind, but these are not ideal situations to be in, especially with Slowbro and Mega Sableye, so always keep that in mind. So now for some of the teammates you might want to run alongside your Mega Gallade. Heatran can sponge Fairy hits for days and is obviously immune to the Will-O-Wisp from Mega Sableye. Ferrothorn and Klefki, which can set up hazards and T-Wave your opponents, slowing them down and whittling them down with damage, just setting up for that eventual Mega Gallade sweep. Of course, Klefki having Prankster, so those T-Waves and Spikes are going to be hitting first. Landorus and Rotom, which can be Volt Switch or U-turn pivots, allowing Mega Gallade to get a hit off. Volcarona, which is a really good answer to Slowbro and Mega Sableye, of course not being able to be burnt by Sableye and dealing a lot of damage with Giga Drain and Bug Buzz to Slowbro. Same situation with Mega Gardevoir, dealing a lot of damage to Mega Sableye and Mega Slowbro with that Hyper Voice, and T-Tar, which can set up hazards, set up the rocks, and can also Pursuit Trap bulky Psychic types like the Lottie Twins and Mew, which would give Mega Gallade a little bit of trouble otherwise. And that's my analysis on Mega Gallade, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching. Hopefully you learned something cool from this set. Maybe you want to go ahead and try that skill swap set yourself. That'd be awesome. I'd love to see that on Showdown one day. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Again, if you did enjoy, don't forget to drop a like. That'd be dope. And subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any other future guides coming on the channel. Above all that, I hope you guys are having a good day. Thanks for watching. Megalugia here, checking out. Peace!